Hello, I'm Shelley Schmidt. I'm a pulmonary and critical care specialist. Cigarette smoking causes 4 of the top 5 causes of death in the United States, and every area of medicine can be impacted in some way by cigarettes. Despite this, we feel under-equipped to talk to patients about cigarettes and nicotine addiction. I know I wasn't trained on how to do this as a pulmonologist, so I suspect many of you weren't as well. But as I learned how many of my patients got into this addiction, their parents gave them their first cigarette, our military distributed them in care packages, or how new mothers were told by their doctors to start smoking to help their postpartum anxiety, the more I realized fault has no role here. We've got to figure out how to do this. There are many approaches. Through this video, I'm going to offer up one that resonates with patients, is motivating, and importantly, fast and easy to do. If you haven't had an opportunity to watch the Inhale video on nicotine addiction and vaping, I would consider starting there because there's important background that will help inform your conversation with patients. There's also an informational, patient-focused Inhale video on cigarettes and nicotine that exemplifies the approach and key points for patients. Before I get to that approach, I want to briefly touch base on taking a quick, accurate smoking history. Patients can get stuck in an inaccurate rut on this question. I typically start by asking if they were raised in a smoking household, then how old they were when they got started, how long does it take them to get through a pack, and if anyone else in the house smokes. Those answers are going to inform our treatment. The approach is wholeheartedly 100% pro-patient. The patient needs to know you're on their side. Guilt, blame, statistics are unhelpful. What they need is a frame shift. We need to shift that guilt and blame from the patient on to big tobacco. So the approach is also wholeheartedly 100% anti-tobacco. If I can get them as upset at big tobacco as I am for taking advantage of them, now we have an adversary we can face together, and that is motivating. Patients don't care about what you know until they know that you care. In practice, we build rapport by focusing on the patient's agenda and concerns first. If their head is full of what they want to say, there is no room to absorb what we want to tell them. After we get everything addressed and managed, they know I'm there to help them. And effectively, at the end of the visit, I set the computer aside, look them in the eye and say, I'd like to tell you a little about nicotine. There are 3 main points I want to make about the nicotine addiction during this conversation. First is how nicotine acts in the instinctual brain as an anxiety drug, and ultimately why they feel the way they do when they smoke. Second, that big tobacco engineers cigarettes to addict millions of Americans. And last, that nicotine exposure during brain development hardwires the nicotine addiction pathway into the brain. This is what I typically say. It takes less than 3 minutes. When nicotine enters the bloodstream, it immediately attaches to our instinctual brain that is responsible for distinguishing safety from threat. When nicotine binds to this part of the brain, it signals instinctual safety. The higher the amount of nicotine, the stronger the safety signal will be. Cigarettes are engineered to deliver a lot of nicotine to this part of the brain very fast. The problem is that a lack of nicotine to this part of the brain begins to signal instinctual threat, which can manifest as anxiety, anger, or frustration. The stronger the nicotine signal was, the more intense the threat signal will be, the longer it's been since the last nicotine exposure. But in 3 puffs of a commercially engineered cigarette or 1 hit off a vape, that threat goes completely away, and we're back to instinctual safety. It is a roller coaster. Nicotine is an incredible anxiety drug. It is the only drug of abuse to work in this part of the brain, and it's why people use it. When tobacco companies process the harvested tobacco leaves upon arrival into the plant, they actually remove the nicotine. They then add the nicotine back in with toxins like ammonia and menthol to get a very specific peak of nicotine in the blood. The nicotine profile for each cigarette in that pack is exactly the same, regardless of the leaves that came into the plant. Each cigarette is engineered specifically for that manufacturer and is intentionally varied by brand, which results in the brand preference. What's more, when we're young and our brains are developing, our brains hardwire in pathways for activities that we use all the time. And our brains prune away pathways we're not using. This allows our brains to get more efficient. The brain cannot tell the difference between a good pathway, like learning to read, or an addiction. Repeated nicotine exposure during brain development literally hardwires the addiction into the brain, making an addiction for life. This is what makes this so very hard. These conversations become organic, and at some point during that 3 minutes, they typically express surprise at this information or that it's resonating with them. But at some point during the conversation, I intentionally release the guilt and tell them, the reason I'm telling you all this is because I want you to know that I know smoking isn't a habit. It's not a willpower problem or that you're a weak person. It is none of that. This is about billion-dollar companies who knew exactly what they were doing, addicting millions of Americans, and they did that to you. 100% pro-patient, 100% anti-tobacco. Often, patients will bring up the quit attempts they've had during the discussion. That's important information to unpack. What meds, any successful, how long were they on it, what caused the setback, any adverse effects, and what triggers they have. All of this will inform what to do next. If they are telling you about quit attempts, you are making fantastic progress. You have them thinking. If you start worrying about how long this is taking, hang in there. It's honestly the most important thing we can do for their health. So let's pivot to treatment. I start with nicotine replacement because it's the least controversial, it's probably going to play some role in their treatment, and they need to understand why their attempts at replacement may have failed in the past. They just didn't know how it was supposed to work. I tell them nicotine replacement does not work like a cigarette. It's not supposed to. It's trying to retrain their brain away from the high peak of nicotine they get from the cigarette so they get less threat. In this top graph, we can see the high steep peak of nicotine delivery to the instinctual brain by a cigarette. This creates the strong safety signal, but then also the strong threat signal. In the bottom pictures to the left is a nicotine lozenge and to the right a nicotine patch. Neither of these reach the peak amount of the traditional cigarette, nor is the delivery very fast. Thus, the instinctual brain is experiencing more of a lump of nicotine rather than the high steep peak. This means it will not feel like a cigarette. The safety signal will not be as strong. But importantly, as we retrain the brain towards the lump of nicotine, the threat signal won't be as intense either. We often combine patches and lozenges, whatever amount of nicotine meets the need. Treating nicotine addiction starts with understanding that we must address the anxiety. Life will always cause anxiety. Both counseling and medication can play a role here. By framing that we are replacing the anxiety treatment of the nicotine with a medication for anxiety, patients are more likely to understand and accept the treatment rather than being frustrated that someone gave them an antidepressant. Bupropion has the FDA indication and is a great first try. But if your patient tries and fails it, any medication appropriate for generalized anxiety disorder will do. And I encourage them to try another class of medication. Chantix, or varenicline, is our most effective treatment for stopping smoking. It's a twice-daily pill. Varenicline binds the same area of the brain as nicotine. And when it binds, it prevents the threat signal. It also blocks nicotine's ability to bind in the brain. It actually doesn't matter if someone smokes on varenicline, it just won't do anything. Many people taking varenicline report not even feeling the need to smoke. And while varenicline is our most effective treatment, and if they are treatment naive, this is what we recommend, I bring it up last because it often gets a bad rap out in the public, so I want to address two of the main concerns people have with it. The first is that varenicline can worsen mental health and mental health outcomes. A large study across many countries was performed of different smoking cessation medications and found no association of varenicline to worsened mental health outcomes. So in 2016, the FDA removed the black box warning concerning this. It is safe to take in patients with mental health concerns. Secondly, vivid dreams are a side effect many people are concerned about, which can be managed with the dose, or by moving the evening dose to an earlier time in the day. Before they leave, we try to do something. Doing something is so important because it signals to the patient that this matters. And we need to address it the same way we would for any other health condition, like high blood pressure or diabetes. At the bare minimum, let's get some nicotine lozenges prescribed and a referral to a tobacco treatment specialist for more discussion. Tobacco treatment specialists are trained to do exactly what their name suggests, and most hospitals and health systems have them. They are nurses or advanced practice professionals who've had additional treatment with helping people to quit smoking. If we have a little more time, coordinating a plan for an anxiolytic and starting them on more comprehensive treatment is great. Varenicline is our top recommendation. Adding a nicotine patch to varenicline has had better outcomes than varenicline alone, and nicotine lozenges for the cravings or threat that people may experience, especially if they come off the varenicline. Tobacco treatment specialist referral, and short-term follow-up. But what if they don't buy what you're selling? Well, this is addiction medicine, and addictions make some patients indifferent to quitting. In that scenario, pivot to harm reduction. The instinctual brain is saturated in 3 puffs. Many patients already know this, so stop there, put it out, save the exposure, save some money. Many can get down to just 2 to 3 cigarettes a day that way. Ask if they can replace a cigarette with a lozenge. Now that they understand how the lozenge works, can they remove any cigarettes from their day? At the end of the next visit, I'm going to ask them, how are the cigarettes coming? Let them know I'd like to prescribe something for them or have them talk to the treatment specialist, because it's that important. Patients may ask about other nicotine products like vapes or nicotine pouches. Commercial nicotine products are designed the same way cigarettes were designed, to addict the user. They are certainly not designed to help people quit nicotine, and they have their own serious health risks. My recommendation for nicotine replacement is to use a product that we know meets FDA manufacturing standards. We know exactly what's in it. There's no cancer-causing chemicals or metals. The product is safe and has been tested. There are teachable moments for smoking cessation. Elective surgeries are perfect times to quit because the patient is often motivated to get the surgery, and the outcomes are definitely worse with smoking. We ask patients to quit perioperatively, 6 weeks before the surgery to 8 weeks after. They can heal, see how they feel, and prove to themselves they can do it. Hospitalizations are also a unique time to put a tobacco treatment specialist in front of the patient and discharge them on smoking cessation therapy. We are anticipating national recommendations on smoking cessation therapy in hospitalized patients in the coming year from the American College of Chest Physicians. And last, children. If there are children in the household, we discuss that no exposure to any addictive substance is safe in the developing brain. That goes for secondhand, but also third-hand exposures, smoky cars, smoky clothing. The kids are at high risk for recurrent infections and high risk to become smokers themselves. I very much appreciate your valuable time today. I have 3 take-homes to please consider. First, find your tobacco treatment specialist. Make your life simpler. This can be time-consuming work, and they're already trained to help. Second, try a pro-patient approach. While our patients participate in this addiction, so many of them started as kids, and none of them knew what they were getting themselves into. Help them get past the guilt and blame, shift it to where it's helpful and motivating, and frankly, where it belongs on Big Tobacco. And last, consider a goal to try a nicotine conversation this week, or maybe one per week. Have your staff try and set aside a few minutes for a patient using combustible cigarettes. Adapt to what is resonating in your patient population. You will be surprised. I shocked our staff the other week on a patient whose chart said, "Don't even bring it up." I did just what I said. I focused on the nicotine, and he walked out accepting nicotine replacement. These patients just don't understand why they are the way they are, and they deserve to know. Cigarettes cause 1,300 deaths per day in America. Let's go make an impact.